Hello Game Replays, I'm TychoCelchuuu and you're listening to a Men of War shoutcast. Did I say Game Replays? I also mean YouTube. These are going on YouTube also. Hello YouTube. So this is a game sent to me by BrotherPedro. Good guy, sent me a couple games at least. I think this is his third or something, I don't know, whatever. And looks like he and his two allies are playing as Americans. And I have no idea who their opponents are. But so he's on the left, and this is the battle zones game type, so there are 5 battle zones, hold the majority of them, and your points will take up. And you want points, because points are for winning. He looks like he's getting ready to set up some sandbags. Took him quite a few tries, either to correctly click the buttons or to choose where he wants them. But he's setting up some sandbags to the left of the point instead of on the point. I would certainly consider... Oh, there he goes. He also sets them up on the point. I think it's valuable to have some cover on the point if it doesn't already have cover, because you're going to usually want to keep at least 1 or 2 infantry either in it or around it. That just keeps your opponent from sneaking someone in and taking the point away from you. And it also, since you know they're going to be attacking it, it's always nice to have someone around, but you don't want to concentrate everybody in the point. And especially if you have some people there, you don't want to concentrate them all in the circle, because you need enough to keep them from just rushing in and taking it. But let's face it, what's more likely going to happen is that they're not just going to run in, they're going to fight. And if you leave all your people in it, they know exactly where you are. So we have an M19 that BrotherPedro bought, dismantling these houses, and really just, it's an anti-aircraft vehicle, but of course no one uses it for that because there are no aircraft to shoot at in Men of War except for a couple, but we're not going to talk about those because they don't really do anything. So that's a German scout car driving around, and so that's going to get torn up by the M19. I'm not a huge fan of the M19. It's got a very powerful gun that fires very fast, and that's why people like it. You saw it smashing up those buildings. It will make mincemeat out of infantry and quite a few light vehicles, but its armor is really not so fantastic, and when I buy light vehicles, I prefer to have something with a bit more armor. I mean, it's a tough choice because with light vehicles you don't get a lot of armor in the first place, and of course anything like a bazooka or an AT grenade or a Panzerfaust or something, those are going to destroy the light vehicles, or an AT gun or a tank will destroy the vehicles, so it really doesn't matter how much armor you have. But against, come to think of it, why don't I like the M19? I guess it's because it's expensive. I prefer smaller light vehicles or small tanks. I don't want the middle. Look at that, you can see the smoke coming out of the barrel from the M19 when it fires, and it's like a dynamic trail. That's some cool stuff. Good graphics in Men of War, I gotta say. Not fantastic, I mean they're just pretty good, especially considering the complexity of the game. And but BrotherPedro I don't think is running at full graphics. His lighting is less than good. No shadows or anything. So here's an M5, the M5 being... Oh, they're fighting the Germans, by the way. Probably should have mentioned that. You can tell because that little scout car that was driving around is a German scout car. So the M5 is... I think the M5 is the light AT gun, which is an interesting choice. Oh, that's Panzer III, I think. We did not see it very much, but he's got to get his M19 behind a house or something because a tank will destroy it. So yeah, he bought the light AT gun, which the advantage of a light AT gun over a heavy AT gun, besides costing less, is that it fires much faster, and I don't know, what else? Well, maybe it's more accurate, I don't know. It's probably not more accurate, especially because the shell is a lighter. I'm not really sure, but it definitely fires faster. Ooh, did he just lose his M19, or did his ally lose his M19? No, he still got it. Firing faster is the big one. It makes a pretty big difference. You watch him shred this building, destructible cover, pretty big deal. It makes a really big difference how fast your AT gun fires, because if you're fighting infantry or something, what you want to do is get a lot of HE shells in on them and just hit them many, many times. And actually maybe the M5 is the heavy AT gun. But a lighter AT gun is very good against fighting infantry because it puts out so many shots that it keeps them from swarming you, whereas with a heavier AT gun, you only get a shot or 2 off before they rush you and decrew your AT gun. So that's what the light AT guns are good for. It's also good because if you're shooting at light vehicles or something and you miss, you want to get another shot off real fast, because otherwise it's just going to drive around behind your AT gun. So the fast reload really does make a huge difference, and although I generally prefer the heavy AT guns because they can take on pretty much anything up to like medium and heavy tanks, and I like to have the security of knowing my AT gun is not going to be obsolete. You do have to think about they have a very large weakness compared to light AT guns, which is their much slower reload time. But I guess the M5 is the larger one. What did it just shoot? It shot something. You saw him load AP shells in his thing. What ammo the AI chooses to load seems kind of wonky sometimes. I'm not really sure how they choose. I think what it is that when they see something they want to shoot, if they have the correct ammo loaded, they will fire. Oh, his AT gun's not facing the right direction. He paid for it with one of the guys crewing it. If they have like an HE shell loaded, ooh, nice, knocked out that Puma. So that was a Puma that hurt his thing, and it knocked off the wheel of that AT gun. So I'm not sure if it's going to be able to reposition or not. I'm not sure if you can turn those without having the wheel. We'll find out. And he moves up. I guess they can drag it. So what was I saying? It'll come back to me. Oh yeah, how the AI loads shells. Let's say you've got an HE shell loaded and some infantry come up. Well, it'll take a shot at the infantry with an HE shell. Let's say a tank comes up. I think he pretty much just sits there and watches the tank unless you tell him to like attack. But sometimes he'll decide like of his own volition to load, and oof, that hurt. I can't even tell what killed it. Probably some tank or AT gun. Sometimes they'll load of their own volition the kind of shell they need, and then they'll fire it, and then they'll keep that shell type loaded. So that was a Pac 40 that knocked out his M19. So, the guy did not reposition his Pac 40 after he fired, which is a big mistake. We see Brother immediately repositioning his M5. Always reposition your AT guns, because once you fire, they know exactly where they are, and once you know where they are, they're going to shoot them. We see a shell explode in the middle of the road. Not quite sure what it was aiming at. I'm guessing his AT gun. And here's another M19 that he's bought. Everyone's a big fan of the M19. Everyone's also a big fan of the ZSU-37, sort of the Russian equivalent of the M19. And that looks like a mortar in the distance behind that house on the right, if you can see that little blob. Red blob. Maybe you can't. Maybe you can. Was that a Puma? I think so. M19 can hurt a Puma, and one of the advantages of direct control is that you can fire into the fog of war like this. There's the Puma. So if you think you know where the enemy vehicle is, just boom, boom, boom right into the fog of war, and maybe you'll hit some, and maybe you won't. These greenhouses are having a bad day. Greenhouse is not the most sturdy cover in Men of War. They're not in a lot of maps, but in a map with a greenhouse, be careful, because that's not going to block a lot of stuff. They're made out of glass. See, look at them, just falling. But not like everything else is holding up to the M19 much better. He's trying to punch his way through that mortar, which is a good idea. When they lay down the sandbags like that, you can figure that the mortar's probably going to stick around. Certainly I've been faked out by people before. They lay down those sandbags and they reposition the mortar, and certainly I've faked people out before. But usually people aren't that crafty or wily, or usually they're too lazy to move is the big thing, and they've got their sandbags, and they're going to keep their mortar there pretty much forever. So that's a big invitation to go in and kill it, or hit it with some artillery or something, or just drive up and run over it. Running over a mortar is a popular strategy. People come in with some sort of fast vehicle and smash a mortar or a heavy machine gun team and just crush the thing. Because why not, you know? Do they have 2 mortars? I think they do. There's at least that one mortar, but yeah, using his M19 to very good effect. The other thing about direct control that's good is that you can fire through buildings and stuff, or dismantle buildings. The AI, it's pretty hard to tell them to attack a building just on their own. Attack ground will probably do it, but I've never even really tried, and that probably only works with like indirect fire or explosive weapons or something. For your normal dismantling, it's better just to use direct control and shoot some stuff yourself. And so it looks like BrotherPedro and his American compatriots have been doing pretty well. They've got the 3... no, they don't have the middle point. The middle point's been the one contested the entire time. Pedro's mostly just holding his own and using his vehicles to harass the middle. I would... well, maybe it's sort of working out. He's not doing a huge amount of damage with his vehicles. I would start probing the defenses on the left is what I would do, because especially when you have a guy dedicated to the middle, well, I guess he's sending in his tank crewman. That's one way to probe defenses for the good of the whole, and they actually made it pretty far down that road before they were shredded like breakfast cereal.